This is a campaign I ran for my friends, and this is all I needed to run the first session. Most DMs spend years trying to design everything before giving up. So what do you need to design and when? I have spent the last 10 years running hundreds of campaigns across many different TTRPG systems. In this video, I'm going to break down campaign writing into 10 evenings, each representing about 3 hours of work. And before you panic, no, you don't need to do all of this before session 1. All you need to start is a weekend, 2 evenings.
We will get the ball rolling on the campaign, a basic adventure and villains that were set up. After your first session, we'll move on to evening 3. This is where we create the setting that your adventure will take place in. For evening 4 and 5, we'll design a longer adventure to get your party through level 1. This adventure will last multiple sessions. That gives you time to take a break from prep and just enjoy running for a little bit. Evening 6, we will plan level 2, starting with more freedom for the party, and we'll finish that in evenings 7 and 8. And our final 2 evenings will focus on the battle with the boss we set up in evening 1.
This video is a little bit of a different style to normal. It's a little bit more informal. It's a little bit more of me actually doing the thing. I want to start off with a discussion of what system we should actually use to run this game. I think it's a default assumption in a lot of spaces that we will use this system or the 2024 version to run a lot of games. But I think that's a pretty flawed assumption, right? This system is good at a couple of things like survival horror, exploration-focused games, but it's not great at some other things. If I want to run a survival horror game, this is the one for me. But if I want to run a really survival horror game, a game about just normal people dying all the time, then I'll break out something OSR. I might even break out AD&D. Depending on what we want to run, we need to really think about the system. I have an idea in mind that we'll get to in a little bit. And for that system, I want my players to be heroes. I want my players to be the kind of people who go around saving people and do cool stuff. I want them to kind of be superheroes. And that's why we're going to use this system. We're going to design for Draw Steel. And I think it's important to remember that this is a decision I've made, and it's going to affect every decision I make throughout the rest of the game. The big one is then the whole structure is affected. Because I want to run a Draw Steel game, Draw Steel is broken into 4 echelons. Levels 1 to 3, levels 4 to 6, levels 7 to 9, and level 10. I want to plan an entire echelon of play, levels 1 to 3. And so for that, I need something called victories. And this is a core part of Draw Steel. In Draw Steel, when you go out and fight things, when you win a battle, or you complete a montage test, or you do well in a negotiation, you get a victory. For every victory you get, your character becomes a little bit more powerful. You can't get them infinitely, but that's not the scope of this particular set. As you complete more of them, you get victories, you get more powerful, but you have to spend recoveries. And eventually you run out of recoveries, so you stop being able to heal. When you then go and have a respite, you go rest somewhere safe, somewhere boring for a few hours, then you get all of your victories turn into experience points. Once you have 16 experience points, you level up. So I want this campaign to end with the party being level 3 and fighting the boss. So that means I need at least 32 victories worth of content. That's a couple of different adventures. That's why this video is titled Design Campaign Writing, not Adventure Writing. There will be adventure writing as part of this. And then we need to think about the fact that that means the boss of this needs to be something that can challenge a level 3 party. So I'm looking immediately, and some of the level 3 stuff we have here are Time Raiders with Elementals, we have Lightbenders, we have Minotaurs, we have Bredel something, I can't say that name, I'm sorry. We have a Chimera, we have a Hag, and then we could use something like demons or hobgoblins for the next level up, or undead, right? There's lots of options there. But I'm immediately drawn towards the Hag. That's kind of what I'm feeling. Maybe that says something about me. How I'm feeling today. We'll find out. Maybe I'll regret this and later. In 4 evenings' time, I might be cursing myself for making this decision, right? So, this is the Hag. Let me go back to the full screen so you can see it. This is the Hag. She has some lovely piece of art and a nice big stat block. And she's a solo. So whatever happens in this final fight, we know that the game is probably going to end with the players. Probably if there's 5 of them 1v1ing, well not 1v1 but 5v1ing her. She's designed for that. She's hiding in plain sight. Topically appears as an older human. She likes to make deals and break people's hearts. Fun times. And they get funny names like Granny or Nanny or something, right? And they have loyal underlings, right? Lack sentience, such as animals, constructs, and undead. So that's quite fun, right? So we know our villain is Hag, and we know minions are going to be... What did the book suggest to us? Let's do a little bullet point list. Animal, constructs, undead. Right, that's all we need for right now. We can give her a name if we really want to. Maybe we should call her, like... I like the idea of her being called Granny Seven Fingers, and there can be some story about how she lost one of her fingers somehow. That's fun. right? Granny Seven Fingers, who's got some minions. We'll come back to those later when we need to worry about that, right? But that's a villain sorted, right? In terms of what they're going to be doing. We'll come back to what they're actually planning to do, which is evil, but we know what we're aiming for. So we won't go to the plan next. That's the wrong order. That would be silly of me to go to the plan next. Now we need to answer the question, what do we want the world/setting to be? Where is Granny Seven Fingers, right? Before we know what she's going to be able to do that's evil, we kind of need to know where she is. I've been playing in the back of my mind, what I'd really love to do is have some sort of like town-based adventure, maybe city-based adventure. But not like giant city. I don't want to try and run into something like Waterdeep or Capital or something giant. Just a town, something medium-sized, something fun. Yeah, so small city. So what do I want this game to take place in? Do I want it to take place in the city or do I want the city to be part of it? I think it'd be fun if this adventure takes place predominantly in the city. We probably want like maybe one adventure outside of it. But if it's going to take place in the city needs to have many areas of it, right? So we probably know that it's going to have multiple districts, right? Because based on the town video I made a few weeks ago, we know one of them needs to be the boring, right? We need somewhere the players can rest and be safe, and we need other parts of it. And as we're in a city, we need other parts of the city to be interesting, right? If this bit is boring, we need the other parts of the city to be interesting. And I like the idea that there is probably something outside of this city, right? So let's say there is a wilderness somewhere outside of it, which can have, a swamp and some ruins and some mountains, right? These things these things do not have to be mutually exclusive. And we know the district, we know that there needs to be like a safe one, obviously dangerous one, and maybe like something ruined. I'm saying like a lot. You can tell I'm from South England in it, bruv. Not only is there going to need to be a place that the players are safe, but at a place that they can be in danger, we need to know there's a place that the players can explore. These are still heroes. These are still people who want to kick some undead. So we can kind of have those things brewing. And we know that there is probably some sort of nobility area, right? Because we need that for it to be fun. And that implies the existence of some sort of merchant area, right? Again, this is all stuff we will definitely come back to in a later evening. We just need to know this enough because our goal tonight, as I've probably said in the actual video, so I'm not going to say it now, but our goal is to prep the very first session. So this to me is enough. We can probably come up with a name, right? What should we name our small city? Shall we name it? It's like, this is what I do, but I can't come up with a name. I go here. I go to West Europe because that's my setting, town. The main reason for using Western European names is I am ever so slightly less likely to butcher them terribly. I like Valen. Valen's good. So we have Valen, the city of... What is it the city of, right? I love this idea. It's from a Pointy Hat video about the fact that you should have your city be the city of something. It helps you world build it better, right? You can have like a city of dreams. The capital in the MCDM lore is the greatest city in this or any age. I have Cloud City in my setting, which is a city in a cloud in the astral plane. Time Sea, all the fun stuff. So what's it the city of? Maybe we should come back to this. Maybe we don't know enough yet. Maybe we'll come to that, right? We should probably also note that there are out in the wilderness, there probably are some other towns, right? Homesteads. I think that's an important thing to note. This should probably just say locals. I think that'll be useful to know. So now that we know that there's we know that there's a city. We don't really know what it is yet. But we now need to figure out the next question we need just for the overview so that we can prep everything else later on, is we need to know vaguely what is Granny Seven Fingers trying to do, which is evil and the heroes will want to stop, right? We know we're playing a heroic game where the villain is going to need to be stopped by kicking their head in a little bit. That's what I'm prepping today. Whatever you feel like, bro. This is up to you, but this is how I'm doing it. What's the plan, right? What is it that our villain is doing that is bad? We know that Hanks can hide in plain sight, so we probably know that she is already in the city. This is not an adventure of her trying to gain access to the city. So let's assume, I've just read the book a little bit, and it says here that hags are connected to Archfey, right? Now, I don't know exactly what that would mean in my world, but let's just say that there's some sort of powerful Archfey in the vicinity that wants to take over this city, right, and all the people in it. So let's say the hag has infiltrated the city and is trying to create a new world, a new woad, which is going to engulf the city and then their archfey can have all of the power inside the city, whatever that means, right? Maybe that just means kill everyone. Maybe that means turn them all into thrall. So let's say that the hag is trying to make a woad to eat the city for an evil archfey. This has the bonus that this is definitely a complete adventure in of itself, right? Once the players figure out this is what she's doing, try to stop her, they've succeeded. They'll get the locals of this city will probably be quite grateful. But it opens up the possibility that, and I know this is a long way in the future, but that might be that archfey might be your echelon 2 or 3 villain, right? And we've already got that we've got the little seedlings of that. They're working for somebody else. It's not just this adventure, which is good. It makes your life easier as the DM in case this goes really wrong and the players solve this problem very quickly. This is a useful continuation. We might be able to move stuff around, right? I think based on how I like to write my stories, I think she's probably infiltrated the nobility somehow, right? I think if we want to do something a little bit haggy, it could be fun if she's trying to steal the ruler's child / maybe... Oh, I've got an even better idea. Wait, hold me on that. Instead of stealing the ruler's child, what if the ruler who's in charge is a fake, right? Maybe they've already been swapped out, and part of this adventure can be the heroes going and finding the real ruler, figuring out who the real ruler is, and then bringing them back. I feel like that could be fun. So sounds like this might be the end of quite a long plan. Maybe she's Granny Seven Fingers because she married into the family a few generations ago, or became part of the family a few generations ago, and has done this, right? This is all we need for the first session. We could just have this in the back of our heads. That's all we need. We will come back to this later because the most important part of this process is that we start running, because we could prep loads more, but it's not useful until we start running and we find out if the players we're running for, we like this idea, whether we are enjoying it. Let's go. Let's come back. We'll come back to this. Locals. Who are the people around here? We know there's the nobility, probably outside of this family. The granny's infiltrated. There's the nobility. It's quite a low level adventure, so I'm gonna throw some we're running in a city. Let's put some Raiden Whites in there. What's some other factions? We know there's gonna just be normal humans in the city. There's probably going to be Poldars in the city. Let's be real. Probably some Poldars living here. I think it'd be fun if there was a faction of elves somewhere around. And let's put something else in. Let's put something a little bit more problematic for the players. Something that could be much more likely to ally with the hag. It's a great one. Let's put a necromancer somewhere out there in the wilderness, right? Let's split these in two. We have the wilderness peoples and we have the city people. Let's put the Fawn Dragon out there, right? The Fawn Dragon is a level 2 solo for Draw Steel, so this could be quite a fun middling side quest, right? The players need something. These are the kind of factions the party might need to work with, and if we've done our job correctly, there's 7 of them. It's probably too many, but that means that there's an odd number. It's very unlikely the players manage to tie unless both sides manage to annoy someone else in the city, which could be pretty good, right? This is everything we need for day 1, right? This is your first evening. You've done this. It's taken me 25 minutes, but I have a lot of practice at this. You might take a little bit longer. You might put a little bit more work in different places. The idea is that I want to massively underestimate. I'm assuming that I prep quite fast, right? So this is something that I'm hoping would take you longer to figure out. And this section of the video is probably pretty fast for you. So that's evening number 1. And let's go straight to evening number 2. Hello, welcome back to the live Frederica. She's the one who's messing up all of the plans. You know, it's a long video when I pour a drink. Step number 1, we need to pick our villain for this adventure, and we probably need to have a little bit of an idea of what it's going to be. So we know that the overarching villain of this campaign is Granny Seven Fingers, but obviously Granny Seven Fingers is not the villain of this first adventure, partly because the players are level 1. So they would die if they fought Granny Seven Fingers. So we need to pick someone who is a more appropriate level for them to fight and go on an adventure to stop. And we probably don't even need it to be super connected to the plot. If we introduce the idea that there's Granny Seven Fingers and she's infiltrated the nobility now, the players are going to think that's the point of everything and they're going to get focused on that. We want to introduce some other thing to this city, which we can loop back into this idea that nobility is a little bit problematic. Let's assume that there is some more kind of dangerous area of the city with some problem in it, right? We can go back to day 1, have a look and see what are the factions that we know are in the city. We know there's the nobility, we know there's the Raiden Rights, we know there's the normal humans, we know there's Polders, we know there's elves, right? The elves might be in the wilderness. Past me, well, we're going to have to stick with yesterday's decisions, aren't we? I think that's going to have to be part of this, isn't it? I'm going to have to stick with past me's decisions, even if they're stupid. So I think it would be fun if we do something like maybe something. We know that probably because of this, nobility are probably not the most useful, because who likes a nobility who are doing everything perfectly? Only Tory voters. So let's assume that we have Raiden Whites, and something is killing Raiden Whites and Poldars, the small folk of the city, and the elves, the humans, and nobility don't care. So the party need to go to. You may be noticing that at this point in the prep, we don't even have a city map. That's because I don't think the players will really care at this point. We can come back to this. If you've prepped a lot and you're thinking, wow, I really need a city, you probably already have a city in your world. And if you don't have a city, that's a future us problem. This is just for prepping a campaign. This is kind of the minimal stuff. We will make a city later. But my example for this is if you look at the Delian Tomb, the MCDM one, they don't get you to show the players what Broadhurst and the surrounding area looks like until later, right? You're going to have the city map ready for session 2. This is just for session 1 for them to test out the characters. Things will probably change. Like, you might be introducing your party to new things. I already said that yesterday. So, who do we want the villain of this to be? We know it's eating small people. We probably want... So we need something a little bit evil. Let's look, what are some level 1 monsters we have here? Could do a werewolf. That could be fun. We could do an Arax. Just have some animals, right? Animals can be pretty scary at level 1 to draw steel characters. We could look at some level 2 stuff as well. There's a griffin, bugbears. Bugbears could be fun. Dwarves, demons. Should we do some demons? Demons could be quite fun, right? How does that connect back to Granny Seven Fingers, though? Do we think a Fae would at all be summoning demons? I think it's possible that could be connected. But also, thinking about it, scratch that. We know it's connected to Granny because... The whole point of this is the reason this is possible is because the nobility are being a bit useless. So maybe something allowed something to happen, you know? That's not the best way I've ever put something, but we know that something happened that allowed this person to bring up some demons pretty easily. So is there a demon leader stat block? So equivalent that could be good for a level 1 fight? There is, but they're a level 3, so we probably don't want the demon itself to be the villain. So shall we have a good place to look then is the rival stat blocks. How powerful are those? But corruption not holy. Cool. That's answered the mechanical side of things, which is where I just started in that moment. But let's ask the question. We know what they're doing. Actually, we already know what they're doing. They are some sort of... If they're a conduit, maybe they're religious. Conduit is the draw steel word for cleric. So maybe they have been corrupted by... the hag and are raising... Do we want them to be corrupted by the hag? Maybe the hag made it possible, but they've been corrupted by some demonic being and are raising demons for something. Maybe they just want to... Maybe they're just serving the master, right? Maybe they've just been possessed. Possessed is probably a good word, right? Then we don't need to answer questions like, is killing them the solution? Maybe we can unpossess them, you know? That could be fun. If the players can unpossess them, good play from them. We'll leave that open. Possessed by a demon. One, they are killing people to raise... for rituals to raise demons. The deaths have recently gone up because the demons are out of control. This is probably where their plan failed. If it wasn't for those damn demons going a bit crazy, they'd have probably won. So, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a map, and that is going to be a time lapse starting now. So, hope you enjoyed the time lapses. We're back. We're so back. Outfit change, hair change. It's a new day. It's actually been about 24 hours. So this is actually day 2 now for me as well. So I'll keep you updated on how many days this filming process takes me. So we made 2 maps yesterday. We made this map that you saw me make, and I've made this map, which is something I did. I don't think I'm going to include the time lapse of, or as it is, it'll be very fast now. We know we were aiming for 5 victories. Now we can come to encounter building. So I wanted to use this part of the video as a chance to talk about encounter building in Draw Steel, because I think it's one of the best systems I've seen for encounter building. It's very simple. There is a table on page 11 of the physical book. I'm prepping this adventure assuming I have 5 level 1 heroes, so it lets me know that I should spend about 30 points worth of stuff on encounters. While I was prepping those maps, I had these encounters in mind. We have montage test to find clues. We'll come to what the clues are of. We have a fight in the church, fight in sewer level 1, big fight at the summoning ritual. As we discussed before about victories and resting, we know that we're aiming for 5 victories for this first one shot. Set it up at the top. So this montage test should be worth 1 victory. We know that the fight in the church will be 1 victory. We know the fight in the sewers will be 1 victory. And we know the summoning ritual, this is going to be two victories worth of content. Right? Fun times. Cool. So this is pretty much our hook. So my plan is that the heroes are going to start here. We're going to give them some clues they can find around this area. Before they go into the church, they have a fight with some demons. That should lead them to finding this staircase going down, which will then lead them to this sewer, right? We'll have 1 fight in this area of the sewers, with some fun demons coming out. Then they'll discover that the demons are coming from this thingy, and either skip this fight, we'll see how it goes, or go straight to this big, or fight the first group, then fight the second group. It's for new players, so I assume that. Lots of fun movement around here. Probably could be a little bit more detailed, but, you know, there's enough for the players to be able to do stuff here. Talk about all of that when it comes to it. So, I am going to prep the montage test now, and then we'll chat about it. And then I'll prep all 3 encounters, and we'll chat about them. Let's start off by prepping a montage test. I think for this first adventure, I'm going to do quite hands-on. I'm going to show you exactly how I think. And for the later montage tests, for the later encounters, I will probably say this, and include some base numbers in there. So let's do our little things where it all looks neat. So montage tests, we need problems and consequences. So what do I mean by this? In a montage test, the heroes need to get a certain number of successes before they get failures. And each time they make a test, there's a chance that they pass and fail, and a chance that they get a consequence or a reward. My favourite way to do consequences at the moment, and this is from a friend, is that when someone gets a consequence, there is an immediate problem that the next hero has to solve. And that can be quite fun, because typically in montage tests, the heroes go, okay, you do this, I'll do this, because we're all good at this stuff. And if you add this in, it adds in this element of kind of like, oh, we might have a thing falling over and we need a hero who's not strong to carry stuff, right? Like, that's a very generic example. But what I want to do here is I want to use the montage test as a way to introduce the stakes of this adventure. So yesterday we said the plan was for this possessed people to be kidnapping people. So let's put in some things the players can do. So we can have some problems they need to solve are talk to families of people who disappeared. That's a pretty good one. That would probably be some sort of presence test. And I reckon it would use maybe empathy. Empathize would be a good skill here. Pretty simple, that one, right? These could talk to people that will be able to get clues, right? Then I think we should maybe have, get in contact with local guards. Right, there are guards around here. They do have knowledge, but it can be quite hard to... The player's going to want to try and get hold of that information. That could be something that could be used to them in their investigation. So let's say that might be presence as well. And that's probably going to be persuade or brag to try and get the guards to tell the heroes what they need to know to be able to do their job, right? The montage test is to find clues to lead them to the church, right? Pick the lock of the church door. The door of the church might need to be open. So we have pick lock on church door. So that would be agility or reason. And this is an example of something that we might use the pick lock skill, right? There's other options that heroes might be able to do, but I just tried to put down some like obvious ones to me so I know what I'm working with in the future. I think case the joint could be quite good. So we have case the joint. The heroes might want to watch the church for a while and learn about it. So we have, that would be reason or intuition. And what would that be? Probably alertness, I feel like, to see the important stuff. And then finally, let's add a final problem of how do they find out it's demonic, right? Let's assume that maybe they can get that info a little bit, like there's like a hint that there's something demonic. So let's say it's complete research in public library. Now we know also for our point tomorrow that the city, building the city map, we know there must be a library. And so that is also going to be reason or intuition. And then history/religion would probably be the skill, right? So these are our things that the hero's definitely going to do. Now let's think about some consequences. What might go wrong if someone does kind of generically some of these things wrong? So I think that for a lot of things we could have get on the wrong side of the law. So they might need to either presence plus persuade again, or agility plus escape artist/gymnastics, right? So it could either be that when they get on the wrong side of the law, they can talk their way out of it, or they can physically like run away from the police. They might, I could see a lot of these different things they could get on the wrong side of the law. And let's say that could be one consequence, and then that could be one of them. So I think if we get the first consequence, they'll do that. And then I think a second consequence could be get spotted GM malice +2 for first fight. So this is a more generic consequence. The idea is that I will slowly build up malice. My default assumption is this test is probably going to be hard until the heroes describe it. The better the hero description is, the easier the test gets. That's my way of incentivizing the heroes to actually describe what they're doing instead of just being like, can I do a persuasion test? They're going to say that anyway unless you force them otherwise. So that's my way of rewarding players to do that. That's a montage test, right? If you read one of the book ones, it's going to give you a lot more information, but that's because it has to communicate an idea. This might make no sense to you, but the idea of this is that it makes sense to me, and I'm the person who needs to run this adventure. So whether it makes sense to you or not doesn't matter too much, right? So once they get inside the church, right, they are going to be greeted with fight with demons, right? So if I bring up the monster book, which probably would have been smart before. So we know the fight with the demons. We know this. We want this to be about 30 EV. That would be a standard encounter. We might even want this to be easy. So I think we're probably aiming for around like 24 to 30 EV. I don't want this to be super intense fight. We've got these pews. For the encounter map that you guys will be looking at, the pews... Wait, I can bring it up. For the encounter map, my intention is that the pews are like half a square. This is a square higher. This layer up here, even if these stairs don't connect. Oops. And these are wooden walls, right? So the idea is that these fights, we can have people throwing through the wooden walls. We can have a little bit of high ground up here. The pews can act as cover and something to slam people into. We've got windows, someone might get thrown out of a window, fun times. If they come in the back way, that's going to change the encounter. I think what I would probably do then is, if the players explore, we have it the same way. If they go straight down the stairs, which they might suspect, then have the demons attack them from behind. That could be quite fun. What do we want to build this encounter about, right? These demons are trying to get the heroes to leave. They want them to be out of the building. So I think this is going to be an encounter where we're going to throw a lot of people out of the room. So I think a few tall asses could be really, really fun. Let's throw 3 of them in there. 3 tall ass. No, that would be 9. That's probably too much. Let's do 2 tall ass for 6 EV, right? If we're going to have these guys, as you can see, these do not have stamina. We need something brutey in front of them to be the front line for the group. So I'm going to throw a couple of these in, which are quite fun and big. They have pull. This is probably not what we want, right? Because we're going to be throwing people out of the building. A lot of these have pull. Does anyone have push here? Oh, well, what these guys can do is they can get... any frontline fighters who try to get away from them, they will pull them back. I like that. But they can grab... I like that. So then we'll do 2 Merceron for 10 EV. So we're already at 16 EV. Then we probably want something to be a pain in the arse for the heroes. Maybe some Frenzied would be pretty good for this. Let's go 8 Frenzied. So that is 6 EV, and then we can make the Musarons, however you say that, Macarons, as captains, right? That's always important for minions, makes them better in this system. So we're at 22 EV. Probably want something else ranged. I feel like something else ranged. Do we just have a ranged stat block for these, or do we have to go minions? You could do some pitlings at the top as the tall lasses things. So let's do 8 pitlings, tall lass captains, 6 EV. So that is 12. That's 28 EV. That's pretty much bang on what we want. This will be a pretty decent encounter for a first level party, right? And I'd probably just wing it on the day, but you'd probably want the tall lasses and the pitlings to start up here. Maybe even the tall lasses behind this like a parrot, whatever it's called. What's it called? Altar. Is it altar? Is that the name for it? I don't know my church terminology, right? Have them up here behind the altar on the carpet. That way they have cover and they can be a pain in the ass because they'll have an edge because everyone's below them. Have the Mercerons and the Frenzies down here between the pews, making sure the heroes can't get through, and have the pitlings raiding death. If the heroes come through here, have the same setup, right? We know that this is probably a little bit above this level, right? Have the same setup and then have someone get thrown through a wall, right? That's probably the easiest way to do it. Definitely want to be throwing people around, sliding people around, all the good stuff, right? That's all you need for an encounter, right? I guarantee you that encounter will be fun for a first time. This could be the first time the heroes are going to be using their character sheet. It's all going to be chill. So then we're going to go down to the sewers, right? I want there to be a fight which kind of takes place as the heroes are crossing. What I really want is this idea that the heroes are going to be crossing, and maybe when they get to about here, demons start coming out of these pipes on either side. I think that will be very, very fun. I think it'll be quite scary for the players. So what I probably want is maybe like 2 waves. This is definitely an encounter for like a lot of enemies. This is probably a time for the ensnarers. I feel like a bunch of ensnarers coming out of these pipes here, maybe coming in from the top as well. But not from the pipes. That's the wrong thing. They come from the top. It'll send the wrong message. But have the ensnarers coming out of here and attacking the heroes. That could be very, very fun. Let's just start off with, I like the idea of having 16 ensnarers for 12 EV. So this is we're still aiming for around 30 EV, but I think I'd rather go over this time and end up with like 36 instead of under, because I want this encounter to feel a little bit harder than the last time. The hero is going to gain the victory. It's going to make a difference, right? 16 ensnarers. That means we need four leaders of them, right? And I think we want movement. I want this to just be like less about the demons being smart and doing anything tactical. Just them like mowing the heroes down would be very fun in this moment. So let's put in 4 Ruinant as captains for 12 EV. That leaves us with just enough to have some sort of stat block to be a pain in the ass for the players. Should we have the Bendrak and weaken the heroes? The target is invisible. That could be fun. They can be turning people invisible. That could be good. I don't want to do this thing. Or should we do the Ramesh? Oh, teleport. That's fun. Yeah, we can be teleporting around. That will be really annoying because that will help us pull the heroes. Say a hero gets here. The Ramesh can teleport them into the water and then run away. Very good stuff because these guys have teleport. So love this, right? And then we'll do 2 Ramesh. 8 EV. So that puts us on a total of 32. So a little bit harder than the previous fight, but still anything the heroes can handle, right? And then finally, we have the big fight at the end where we know already that we want the rival conduit, right? We already established this. Who is, how much EV is he? He is 16 EV, right? But this is the important bit. That table we were looking at before, right? It says that for every 2 victories, the heroes get another thing. So at this point, the heroes are actually on 3 victories. I forgot this for this one. They're on 3 victories. So we should be aiming for it to be a hard fight. It needs to be a standing encounter plus 1 extra hero. So 6 heroes worth of EV is we're now aiming for 42 EV to like 42 to 48 EV, right? So this rival conduit is only 16. That means we still have 16 EV worth of monsters to have the fight over this tombstone, right? Now, I want to do something a little bit more draw steel with this fight. So this is the thing summoning the demons, right? And I want it to be a destroy the thing encounter. I'm really enjoying those things at the moment. And that means that you do 35 times the hero's level. So the totem pole has 35 HP. I'm going to increase its defense, and I'm going to make it 50 HP, because I think that 35 will be quite easy even for level 1 heroes. So that's made it a little bit harder, the encounter. That's a thing that one of the options it gives you to make it harder, right? Each round that they don't destroy this thing, I think it should spit out like a group of maybe like a frenzied and a ruinant, right? So each round, at start of each round, a four frenzied and one ruinant are spawned in next to the totem pole. This is important to me because I want the heroes to know that destroying this is the encounter objective, that they can't just kill all the... What the heroes are going to do first time is they're going to kill all of the enemies, and then the encounter is going to be over, and they're going to think the encounter's over, and they think they've won, right? What you want them to do is have to destroy the pole, and that means the enemies can do cool stuff and mess them up, right? So let's make it worth 12 EV. 28 of our EV done, right? And then my feeling is it's always best. You don't really want to be introducing new monsters in the fight, too many of them. We're already introducing the conduit, right, which is new. We're already introducing this totem pole, which is the first time the heroes are going to do that. So let's just go back to what we already had. Let's throw 2 Torlas in for 6 EV. Let's throw... We don't want to throw Ramesh in. We've already got a lot of chaos going on. That will just be too much. Let's throw in some... Merceron for 10 EV. So we're now at 38, 44. And then to round it off, let's add in one final group. Let's have one of these at start of combat, right? So we start off with a group of this, which is worth 6 EV. So that is our total EV for this encounter is 28, 34, 40, 50. Bang on what we wanted, right? This is a hard encounter. This is worth 2 victories to the party, right? If they can win these, right? So that's what we need to run in this adventure. I personally don't feel the need to write descriptions of the rooms, because I've spent all this time, I spent quite a long time making both of these maps. For me, the maps are the description of the room. All of my ideas have been turned into the map. If you have grabbed a map from another place, you might spend more time writing descriptions at this point. But that's all I need to run this adventure. Yes, it's going to be quite improv heavy, I think, by a lot of standards, but fundamentally, I'm not going to get good. If I was new at this, I wouldn't get good improvising this kind of stuff, which I'm going to need to be able to do if I didn't start somewhere, right? So at some point, my adventure is not going to be so good, the same way my maps weren't so good at the start, but I'm going to get better if I practice. So by practicing the improv, it's going to get better, you know? I know that's really obvious, right? I don't know why I'm saying it like this, like it's some big idea, but, you know, that you're going to have to improv stuff a lot, so why start now? The only thing I might do could be kind of fun. Maybe there's some hint that could help the players figure out what's happened, right? I know they're going to see the priest, but they might be able to know it's coming. Maybe in the priest's room, in the cabinet, there is like a note, his diary, which holds some information to let them know that he's been possessed. They can figure out that's what's going on. He's possessed, not evil. Maybe there's something that can happen. Maybe when he dies, he can do that. I'm going to leave that up to future me, right? I can improv both those things in the moment. I'm no writer to write some amazing diary that will sell everything, so I'm not going to worry about it. And the point of this isn't really to show you how to be a good writer, right? We've already made a lesson. We've already done a video about how writing and directing are different things. This is a directing video. To me, this is about direction, so we don't need to worry about all of this, like, deep plot stuff right now. Particularly not for this first session. This is just a little throwaway adventure to get the players moving. Okay, rewards. I've written this all down because it got very confusing last time when I tried to do it live. I'll start off with the easy things first. 1, that each of the heroes, when they destroy the demon totem, they're each going to get 1 renown. This represents the Polder and the Raiden work. This represents the Polders and the Raiden Wights being really grateful that the heroes have, like, saved them and all this stuff, so they get a renown. It's pretty obvious, right? The other thing I've put in is that I want the priest to be wearing, the one who's possessed, to be wearing a red cloak to protect him from fire. That's part of my idea of how he was able to do these rituals, is he's protected from fire. And it'll be fun. If someone hits him with fire damage, he'll get the bonus of that magical item during the first fight. Fun little trinket. And finally, I have homebrewed the Totem Destroyer title. So my logic for homebrewing something was that I wanted it to feel really unique. I wanted the player who got it to feel pretty cool when they had it. The idea is that when they destroy the summoning totem, whoever destroys it just gets this. It's based on the Zombie Slayer ability, and basically all I've done is changed out anytime it says undead for demons, and anything that does corruption damage has been turned to fire damage, and then I've renamed everything. It was that simple to homebrew it, and I think it will really add to the game for the players when they kind of look into it. So yeah, that's everything for evening 2. You should now feel ready to run your first session. You've got 2 maps ready, you've got your rewards ready, you've got your hook ready. Now you just need to go make the characters with the players. That will take you through the first night, and then it should be that those free combats, I think, would take me two sessions to run. Maybe if you run long sessions, you'll be okay, but yeah, on to day 3, I guess.
You're being joined by voiceover Frederica, so while you get to watch me make the city in the background, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it for day 3. The important locations in the city, you can see I'm making Castle Vietti here. This is where the nobility faction are from. This is where Granny Seven Fingers is conducting her evil plot. Very fun times. All the good stuff. In the centre of the map, you'll see the market. It does what it says on the tin. Don't stress too much about it. Now you're looking at Mattia Library. The head librarian is Lola Solaldo. This library is for the books and the research. This is a place downtime projects can be completed at very easily. Okay, now you're looking at the guardhouse. This is where this is the representation of the more normal humans in the area. This could be a future ally, but currently the leader, Clara Freya, is allied with Seven Fingers. Pablo Valverde is the oldest member of the guard, but he's only a sergeant, and he is suspicious of Granny and the Baron, so he is a potential ally. This is Saint Acosta. This is the main church in the town. It's very neutral, it's undecided. It has a high priest, Sergei Sabata. The local adventure here is that one of the tombs, there have been noises late at night around it, but it's just a group of grave robbers. If it's dealt with, he'll owe the party a favour or give them on wealth level. They can get a renown from this. Now, one of the more interesting bits of it is in the north of the city is House Girault. This is the elf area of the city. These elves know what's going on with Seven Fingers, and as a response, they have shut their door to their little castle. Now, they're elves, so they've probably been here for a couple hundred years. This thing they've done a long time ago in comparison to everyone else in the city, but the elves, it's not that long. But this does open up a little local adventure. There is an abandoned set of houses a couple of blocks over. That's where the elves used to live. Each one of these has kind of magical defense and is protected by Baron's guards. But if the party can sneak into it, they can find info showing that the elves know about Seven Fingers, and that means they would then be able to go ally with the elves. It would help them in any upcoming battle with the elves. Finally, in the centre, we have the Cat Inn. This is where I want them to be able to rest and do their respite. So this inn has a strict no weapons policy. This means it's safe to complete respites here, and the tavern owner, Marilyn, is the owner. They are a Hakan, and they make sure troublemakers stay out of here with their Hakan strength and all the fun stuff. And they know all of the rumours. This is the place to come to if you want to know that stuff. Finally, at the farm in the south, there is a windmill. At the farm, there's a little side quest here that there is something in the windmill. Something has been hunting in the rivers, but it's just a mama bear and the cubs. This is a little hint to the idea that if the party have someone who can talk to the bear, they will let them know that it's Granny who sent them here. That someone evil, they wouldn't say call it Granny, but someone, a hag, forced them to come here against their will, and they escaped imprisonment somewhere in the city. Little hint for the players. If the heroes take the time to go on some adventure where their solution is to move the bears to another location up in the mountains or somewhere else away, We know around the city there are mountains and stuff from our previous notes. Then the green elementalists of the area will be interested in befriending the players, and in the fight against Granny, they will work with them. But if they kill them, they will get a 1 wealth from the nobility of the city and the farm owner, right? So they're incentivized to not do that. Hello, so we have another outfit change because it's another new moment. So let's talk about evening number 4. So if all has gone well, you now have a town. We now know a lot about what did I name it? Brain. We know a lot about Valon now. We have a few quests in here that the party can do as little downtime stuff. So after you run that first adventure, your party should hopefully take a downtime, hopefully need one, and then we can hook into those little adventures I put in there, or what you put in there in equivalence, right? This is what my notes look like for the city. It's pretty much what I said as the voiceover for the time-lapse. And now we need to look at evening 4 and 5. So the next 2 evenings you've got, right? So this evening would be, if you're working this with me, you should be working on this part of the adventure hopefully at some point after you've run the first part of the adventure, right? Hopefully you can find 2 evenings between then and when you need to start adventure number 2. And the idea of this is I want this to be a little bit of a longer, still relatively linear. We will get a bit more sandboxy in the next section, but I want to have a linear adventure we can prep something the party can do. And again, I probably don't want this to be too focused on the hack. We still don't want Granny Seven Fingers to be the focus, but we want to hint at it. At the end of this adventure, I want them to be able to figure it out. So we know that probably the point of this adventure is that we need to reveal, and this will take us the next 2 evenings to do, we need to reveal where is the Duke, right? Not the Duke. Where is the Baron's son? We know the real one is out there somewhere, and so we probably need to figure that out. Where is he? What's stopping him coming back? And what will the players need to do in the future where we can think of that? I think that an arch... So, my plan is the evil archfey that Granny works for... I don't like this. Ignore me. So, what I've written down is that the Baron's son was left in the local woad where they were picked up by some woad elves. This maybe happened when they were about 10, so they know what's happening. They're now 15 and they're ready to come back. So we need an adventure that takes place in the woad where they can interact with this and meet the son. Maybe they don't have to figure it out right away. Maybe it can only be later that we let them figure it out. But what kind of adventure might we go on which is in a woad? I think the temptation is to say the Thorn Dragon, but we're still level 1. We're probably a little too low for that. So let's go to our trusty book and have a look for some Echelon 1 monsters. I should do this on the PC so you can see. Let's go to our trusty book, but let's do it on the PC. So what do we have for level 1? We have... I need to close this in my tab. Right, what do we think of this? There's something in a woad. We could have some woad elves, but I think those are probably the good guys that the heroes could work with. Do we do goblins? We could just do some goblins. That could be fun. Could do some lizard folk. Could do some undead. The war dogs don't really fit into this adventure, I think. We could downgrade the dragon. Maybe the Arix. Do we want to do an Arix adventure? There's been a lot of Arix adventures. I think goblins. I think we should do something with goblins. I think that would be fun. So what do we think? That means we could use the Goblin Queen stat block. I think the Goblin's Queen stat block is the right level, unless I'm mistaken. Yeah, Goblin Monarch. We can do this, right? So the villain, So the mini boss will be a Goblin Queen. What do we think she might want? Why is she here? She definitely works with hags. She knows she works for Granny. Works for Granny. Maybe she is being sent. What might Granny want? Granny might want to... Maybe the son wasn't... No, that doesn't make sense. Maybe that way it doesn't make sense. What might these goblins want? What does the books give us as things about goblins that we might be able to get some hints from this? Sneaky, skittling war spiders. Oh, I'd love a war spider. That would be cool. I love this stat block. Let's say she is... Let's make it that she doesn't work for Granny. Let's not do this. Let's do it as a separate thing. Planning... That's too similar to... I don't like this. Mini-boss. What should we do with the mini-boss? So, with the mini-boss, it's an orc warlord. They are planning an assault on the city. They are unconnected from Granny.
and they have set up shop inside the woad. So when the heroes go to the woad, they will be able to ally themselves with the woad elves there who have the Baron's son. Right? I think that could be quite fun if the Baron's son can almost become a retainer for the group for this adventure, later in the adventure to help them, and so they can kind of get to know and like the Baron's son, and then that will make them want to help him more and help him in his plight, right? That can come up. So we know that this adventure is going to include... This feels like it's probably a hex scroll to me. I don't know if you're getting that feeling, but I feel like this is probably some way the party can interact with this adventure. I feel like it's either a point crawl, but I feel like a hex crawl could work quite well here. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Hex crawl. So we know there's the woad elves, we know there's the orc stronghold. What else could be in the city? So that's like a little bit later on, I feel like, into this adventure. I feel like we might start off with an attack on the city. I feel like that could be fun. So what if we say first part of the adventure, part 1, attack on the city. So this might be about, if we know we were aiming for about, the party should have had 5 victories from that first adventure, right? Yeah, 5 victories. So we're aiming for about 12 Vs here. Let's say this first bit is like, let's have like a 6V part of about the attack on the city. There can be like we could let's mark this out. So we could have like a montage test at the start of the siege, a battle at the gates, negotiations with the elves for support. So what might this adventure look like? I think it would look like there's a montage test at the start of the siege. Then there's a battle at the gates where the heroes need to kind of hold the line while the guards can get into position. And then it could go, and then they'll need to go negotiate with the elves for support with enough forces to do an assault. If they succeed with that test, they'll then need to do if they succeed with that negotiation, they'll need to do a montage test to get them out and into the camp where they can do the assault, and then a big battle at the camp with the support of the elves and the humans and the guards. But if they fail that negotiation, then they'll need to like fend off a second assault, hold the line enough for people to leave that first part of the city, and then there could be a major battle at the castle gates. That way the party's decisions could work quite well. We could also end up in that bad scenario if they fail that first fight at the start of the city, or the battle, first and battles again. So I will do that off screen, but we do need to think about the negotiation. So that is what we will do next. Yeah, we go to the negotiation section. So we have this leader of the elves. I think his people are probably a good thing. Is that benevolence? So let's say that one of his motivations is benevolence. Oh, that should have been protection, not benevolence. I think, like, he does care about the city. He's not locked them away because he hates the city. He hates Granny. So I think there's, like, there's a pitfall of, like, for higher authority. He knows Granny is a hag, does not trust her. What else do we think? I think there's justice is a motivation, like justice. So I think there's a one that is justice, where like he doesn't want the people of the city to be hurt and killed and murdered by these orcs because of Granny, because Granny's making them stay inside, right? This is all stuff that they could pick up if they do this local quest before this adventure, in that like little gap of the little time where they've got probably a day or two to do this. If they just take 2 respites. Okay, here. That's what we'll say at the top of here. We get to this part of the adventure. In my adventure, it's that we do their intro adventure, and then they have 2 days before this attack. So they have a day to mess around in the city. If they want to do crafting, they can do 2 days of downtime, or they might pick up some of these small local adventures, and then this attack will happen. Pitfalls, higher authorities. Do we think there's another pitfall this guy might have? Have his motivations. He wants to protect his elves. He does care about the justice for the people, and he wants freedom, but don't try to convince him to do it in the name of the Baron and in the name of the people, because he doesn't trust Granny. That's a negotiation to me. We have ways to pick up these ideas in the city, right? If they do, says he was a kind person back then, and only saying they could learn protection, motivation, and cared about justice for all in the city, elf or otherwise, right? So if they go and talk, if they've met Pablo by this point, if they've talked to the guards, then they can pick up this information, right? This is how I would do a negotiation. That's basically the format. Negotiations aren't that complex in Draw Steel. And then we'll come back and I'm going to show you how to make a hex crawl for the woad part of this adventure. So let's go through it now that I'm finished with it. The montage test has these problems. The city gates break. There's panicking civilians. There's unorganized guards. There's some fires being started and you need to heal wounds. The complications are that a ballista bolt strikes a food supply and sets it on fire. It needs to be put out immediately. I know it's a second fire thing, but I think it's kind of fun when there's a strike on the city where they're trying to burn stuff. And the other complication is the orcs have broken through. Someone needs to fight them back at once. That would be spending a recovery for a complication. If there's a battle at the gate, when there's a battle at the gates, we use the hold the defenses encounter objective. And at the start of the combat, we have a Skyzer, which is their big dinosaur thing, with 4 blitzers and a blood runner and 8 razors riding on its back or around it, which I think is kind of fun. Then we have the negotiation we worked on, and the one thing I added was that Jakob starts neutral unless the heroes have done something to piss him off or make him like them more. If they fail any of those sections, we then have the second assault. It's the same as last time, but we just add the war leader on the back of the Skyzer. That's because by this point they should have a couple of victories, and this is not that hard. This is not an impossible encounter for them. This would be very hard. The difference is they just need to win the war leader, and then they will retreat again. So it's like a harder fight, but it's a punishment for failing. You know, if they're messing up, they're not doing well. And then the final battle at the campsite, and I'll pop a map I've made of a campsite in the past before so you can kind of imagine it, would be with this. It'd be the war leader, 1 rampant, 1 caller, 1 blood runner, and then 8 razors running around crazily. So I hope you kind of understand that. That would be part 1 of this adventure. That'd be evening number 1. This will probably take 3 sessions to run. So you now have 3 sessions to work on the woad, which is what we will do tomorrow. So it's been like 3 days since I last recorded anything for this. And that's because I really, really struggled with this section of the adventure. Like, yeah, I got really stuck on this. I wish I'd been able to record more, but part of the work on this was done in, like, my car, sat outside, like, just sat waiting for stuff. Part of it was done in a cafe. It was all good times. But here was the original plan. The original idea I had was this adventure where, like, the party would go in and they talk to some woad elves, and then they talk to, like, a thorn dragon that would help them get to the orc hold. And I wrote that and I was like, it wasn't that good. It was like a pretty mid-adventure for a lot of reasons. So what I went and did was I had a thought about what could be an interesting hook. And I knew that the Baron's son was going to be with the woad elves. And I was like, well, if I make it that they kind of need to talk to the woad elves, that feels a bit weird. I wanted something a bit more. So I had the idea that after the town would be attacked, right? After that event, there'd be a kind of investigation. One of the things that would get asked is, why didn't the woad elves of the forest alert us to the orc army? And that's because the woad elves have been captured and taken prisoner by the orcs, except for the Baron's son. So the very first part of this adventure is the heroes go to the woad. The heroes go to the woad and they find that it's been destroyed, and they meet the Baron's son, who has the lance of the Sundead Star. And he's like, yo, you can have, he probably doesn't say yo, but he's like, oh yes. He doesn't have that voice either because he's been with the woad elves. But he's like, hey, I have this magic item. I can help you and give you this magic item if, as part of it, you free what is my adopted family. This is the point at which the heroes should also, maybe not now, but they will probably at some point in this adventure figure out who he is, right? How the DM, if I was running this, I'd slowly like roleplay it as he gets used to the party, as he gets to trust them. He might tell them who he really is, because he does know who he is, but he's keeping it a secret because he thinks that the granny will come and kill him if she knew, right? Then the other part of this is wherever this setting is, in this swamp, there is also a thorn dragon. And I think that is more just a kind of vibes thing. One of the things I know is that getting to the orc stronghold will be a little bit difficult. It would be a montage test. But if the party go and talk to the thorn dragon and can make a deal with him, they can just get them there for free. Because the orcs made a deal with the thorn dragon by sacrificing a bunch of livestock from their previous raid to the thorn dragon. That's why they're being hidden in the woad. The thorn dragon's helping with that. The hold itself, and now... So I will need to, there will be the kind of encounters based on how much this orc hold has once I've got everything ready. But the orc hold has kind of the guards, that's 1 victory. There's these traps, which probably isn't a victory. There's the alertness scheme, which will probably be 2 victories if they do it right. There is the big final fight, that's 2 victories. That's 5 victories. on the walk, I will probably have, like, there'll probably be a montage test and a combat, but I will figure that out after this little montage. So we're now going to cut, and you're going to get to watch me make the map for the Orc Hold. So this adventure is something that's called a 5+5 room dungeon, right? So you've probably heard of 5-room dungeons. There's the entrance, the trick or setbacks, an RP or some other encounter, the climax, and the reward, right? The 5+5 room comes from a book, So You Want to Be a Dungeon Master, which I have the audiobook of. And the idea is that you have that and then you add in a couple of extra rooms that aren't important. And that way the heroes don't always know when they enter a room whether something's going to happen or not, right? So what you're looking at me make here is the very first one of those. This is just the clearing. This isn't a combat encounter. This is a little extra piece of lore for the heroes to find out about the orcs and what they're up to. So you can see in that little clearing I made, there's a little map on one of the stones as well as some other little environmental stuff, but that map would show you how to get past these pit traps. So this is the trick or setback. Around this fort is a number of pits and is a number of pit traps, right? And the only way in is going to be in a second. I'm going to open up the main entrance to the fort, and that's going to be where the heroes or the orcs will get in and out, but that area is guarded. So to get across the pit traps, the heroes either need to get lucky or they need to do some exploration and find this map, you know, kind of classic setup for an adventure, pretty easy. The way sneaking works, I use something called alertness rules, which is something I kind of invented, which is alertness is measured on a scale of 0 to 3, with 0 being the orcs have no idea anything's going on, and 3 being they are literally going to start a fight immediately. And the idea is that the heroes, each time they make a test, they can move up or down the alertness scale. So if they succeed if they fail the test, they're going to get caught. But if they just get a consequence, the alertness might go up by 1. It's a way of kind of showing the kind of, oh, it was just the wind, gets progressively less easy to do. Like, it was just the wind becomes something that the orcs are going to not believe is get on. You might have seen me make just in the corner there a little blacked out area. That's for inside one of the pit traps. If one of the heroes falls into one of the pit traps, they're going to find the body of a woad elf with a letter kind of telling them to, like, what's going on with the woad elves. He managed to escape but fell into one of the pit traps and died. So they can find the body in there, which will confirm the woad elves are there. And I mean, they could use that. I guess they could find that information, take it back to the town and get help, but, you know, whatever. Kind of setting up for later, I had this idea of having each of the corners of the tower have a ballista on it. That means that in a fight, the orcs might be able to use that, or the heroes could use that, which is, like, bad news. And this is where you're going to see something I'm doing with Incarnate. This is a 2-level map. So the upper level, this kind of balcony, is 3 squares above the ground floor. It means if we get into a fight, we'll be able to have the orcs kind of up on the roof and up on this level and jumping between them, which can always be a lot of fun. And now I'm working on the prison. This is where the woad elves are being kept. If the heroes at the end of the adventure save them or manage to get them out without even alerting the orcs, which I imagine there's ways they could do it, like breaking through the rules if they played it right, the woad elves are going to give them a lot of rewards, right? As well as just being able to give them some information and some help. And obviously that will help them connect with the Baron's son, which will be important when they want to defeat Granny 7 Fingers later. But they'll give each of them a renown and the ode a favour title from them. They'll also get words become wonder at next breath even. And now finally, the final room I'm doing is the kind of Great Hall of the Orcs. This is where I imagine them staying during the day, and then they'd move the tables to the side so all the orcs can sleep in there because there's not a huge number of them. There's also a few tents out back. You can see me adding another roof on top of it, and there's some, like, nice fireplaces with chimneys just to keep it nice and warm. It's nothing that fancy, this map. I've not done a huge amount of lighting work or anything like that. I didn't want to go crazy, right? I wanted to keep it pretty simple. I wanted to keep it something that I feel like is a reasonable time outlay for the idea of this video. So yeah, I'm putting the final touches on it now, and we can cut back for Frederica. So people, if you've made it this far into the video, good job. I hope you're enjoying it. But 2, I have to let you know, I have tricked you, right? This video is to teach you how to write an adventure, and I can't do that by making an entire video. So, this is the deal. You've made it this far, and I guarantee you have a thought in your noggin how to get from this situation where we have the Baron's son they found out about the Baron's son, they know who he is. Granny 7 Fingers in charge of the city. They've got an ally in the woad elves. They've got this lovely fort now. How do we get the heroes from this to saving Granny 7 Fingers? Preferably in something a little bit sandboxy. What are the steps they might need to go through? We know who the people are in the local area. We know what's going on. So, it's your job. Yes, I'm talking to you, Tim, look at me. I see you, Timmy, look at me. You're part of this as well, and you, and Adam as well, and Sarah, and James, all of you. I know there's some Germans out there, so Jürgen as well, all of you, you have to think in your brain your cool idea. I'm going to make an area in the Discord with lots of little threads for everyone, can make their own threads, and you're going to tell me how you would finish this adventure. And if this video gets a lot of love, if people love it, I think I'm going to say something like maybe, this is a lot, but maybe like 500 likes. I need to know that you guys enjoyed this, right? This is a pretty niche video. I don't know how it's going to do. But if it gets 500 likes, I'm going to make a video where we're going to go over all of the best ideas that came up in response to this video. And I'm going to make an adventure. I'm going to make like a final version of it, right? We're going to take all of the best ideas from all of you guys and make a final version of it. And then that will go up on the Patreon. Right now, there'll be this basic adventure, so you can look through the notes, you can download them and make sure that your thing links up with what I've got written. All spelling mistakes and all. Part of the challenge is you have to work with all the mistakes I've made up until this point, right? Because the idea is that if we were actually running it, it would be a little bit more chaotic, right? We would have people slowly... Because that's the idea. If we were actually running it, we wouldn't be able to go back and change what we said in the first session because it's already happened, right? So that's the challenge for you. Let me know how it goes. Either leave it in the comments, you can make a post in the community on YouTube, or you can come join the Discord where there'll be an area set up for it, and I will reply and I'll give feedback to everyone. I hope you don't feel too debated. I know it's a little bit of a sneaky one I've pulled on you guys, but I really, really hope that this video has helped you kind of learn how to design an adventure, right? And I hope it's shown that it's not hard. None of these days of work has taken me more than like a couple hours at absolute max, and that's including making these maps, and I wouldn't expect most DMs to make maps like this. So I hope you've enjoyed this slightly more loose style. If you want some inspiration on what to include, there's a video here of me running Draw Steel, and otherwise YouTube's gonna give you another video to watch, but you should go come up with your own idea for this adventure. I want to hear it. Let me know how it goes. There'll be a link to the Discord in the description, and I really, really hope you've enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for getting this far. I understand that this is a big time outlay, and yeah, 500 likes, I'll post 500 likes, I will go through all of the submissions of other people's ideas in the Discord, and on YouTube comments, and on the YouTube community, and I'll make a video with that. So I thank you so much for watching, everyone, and have a really, really good time writing your ends.